so many of us women deal with the spirit of perfectionism, striving, performing. The better we do, the more love we get, or the better position we get. God is calling us to greatness, but He's not calling us to burnout. So I'm so happy that I have my friend Erica here with me today. And she's going to share about how she's dealt with this herself and how she's overcome it, and how it's always a struggle. It's going to always be a day-to-day struggle, but she's overcoming it with God. And I'm so excited to have you, Erica. So please tell everybody what you do and how you kind of learned about your own struggles with perfectionism.
Well, first of all, Dana, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and a blessing to be able to share our stories together. I just remember as a kid, the expectations from my parents, especially from my mother, being of a Filipino American background. I was born in the Philippines. My mother, she experienced poverty. She had to literally dig in, garbages at some points to help her mom, like find things to make little money to put food on the table. And imagine as a young mom, it's like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah.
And, the one thing that she promised me as a baby that I learned later in life was that she was going to give me a life that she never had. I just praise God for that. I was blessed with an amazing stepfather. Didn't even know he wasn't my real dad until I was about 15. During that season, I was dealing with a lot of identity.
Yeah.
I had a lot of questions about my identity, who I was, who made me, why am I here? On the outside, it seemed like everything was together. On the other side of that, being raised as a Filipino American, trying to fit in with the American culture, trying to fit in with the other American students, and really just trying to figure out, like, where is my place?
Yeah.
My features are different, and my background is different. My language is different, and my school was predominantly white at the time.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of mixed cultures until I was in high school. In the Filipino community, a lot of the parents, they like to brag about their kids and, straight A's, or my kid's on the honor roll, or my kid's going to this college. The pressure that I was feeling, didn't really correlate with the pressure that my mother was feeling.
Yeah.
Trying to forget about her past, trying to forget about the poverty that she was raised in, trying to never remember.
To overcompensate.
Yes, and it felt that way, but I felt like I had to be this, perfect daughter, get the straight A's, do all of the extracurriculars, drama, track, tennis, but not just do them, but perform highly. And I went to college. They left. They built a house in Spring Hill, Florida, and retired. I was like, I am not leaving New York. I was in the middle of the fashion industry at the time. So here I am in the whirlwind of fashion, and I'm watching my mentor, Rachel Ayala. At the time, she worked with many magazines, Vogue, Urban Latino, Complex magazine. So it was like really cool to work with her and learn, and how she would just collect checks.
Yeah.
She'd spend like an hour dressing the celebrity, and she would get like $1,000 for like 2 hours.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, okay, so here I am coming from my Victoria's Secret job, making $8 an hour, and I think I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
So here she is, and I was just like, whoa, okay. This whole paradigm shift kind of just encouraged me to now strive for
In a
something
different
different.
way.
Yeah. And I'm living in this lifestyle, and I'm thinking it's glamorous, it's amazing, and like it's just intense, because here I am in it trying to keep up, and it's another race, right? So now, like, I come from performing for my family, performing for my mother, and now I'm like performing for these strangers, trying to constantly impress them, because that's what it's about. Like, when you work in New York, like, they don't care about how cute you are, how you whatever. Like, it's about what you bring to their table. It kind of forced me to take myself a lot more serious if I was supposed to survive. I just remember living in all of that. My parents are already retired and moved on in Florida, which is the one place that I dreaded to come to, because I was like, what is that? What is there? But there was something pulling in my heart. Like, there was something more. And of course, at the age of 18, I'm like, well, what is more than this, right?
It seems like the perfect life. I'm sure,
so.
especially when you're young and you have all the flashy things.
But it was so empty.
Yeah.
It's easy to get lost in that.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose your identity, even when you think your identity is that. And here's the truth. Like, when your identity is attached to something that is materialistic, you lose the essence of your purpose. You lose the meaning of why you are here.
Yeah.
And, majority of the world is striving for material things. And, it is an absolute blessing to have a beautiful home, a nice car, and all of those things. But it's not, it's
There's a
just,
difference between hard work that has God-centered in it and it is a giving back and being a person that is generous versus striving for things, I believe.
right.
Because if
Yeah.
you're striving for a calling or a purpose, those things can come.
Yeah.
But if you're striving for just materials,
Yeah.
it's like going to be a never-ending
Yeah.
race.
What society kind of encourages, it makes you believe like this is what it looks like to win. I remember the day I was in Brooklyn and I just felt so lost. I knew that something was calling me. I didn't know that it was God then because I didn't know God then. I was just a wreck. I was in my pajamas. I just started walking. I didn't know where I was walking to, but I just felt like this pull
Yeah.
to come home. Stumbled upon this little tabernacle. It looks like this storefront of a church, completely different than what I've ever known because I grew up Catholic.
Yeah, that's much different.
Yeah, and I'm in my pajamas and I felt so embarrassed
Yeah.
because I was just like, I am so sorry that I'm dressed this way because again, like it was the whole looking perfect and performing and here I am as I am and I just remember like falling to my knees and this woman coming to me and she was like, you come as you are.
Yeah.
In God's house, you come as you are. And I've never heard or felt that.
I was raised in a home that just bred codependency. I
Yes.
learned that if I do for others, they are happy. And when I give of myself, they're happy. So, of course, I put myself aside.
Yeah.
So, I think that it's easy as we grow to think, I need to strive for love. I need to strive for people's affection. And if I don't strive and I don't perform, I don't get love. And then that translates into our relationship with God.
Yeah.
If I'm the best Christian, I read the Bible, I have to be perfect before I get to God instead of coming as you are, broken, as you see in the Bible. He met people right where they're at. The ministry of Jesus was all about meeting people right where they're at.
I struggled with the spirit of not enough.
Yeah.
I was not enough. I had to keep doing more. Right.
Yeah.
And my mother's an incredible woman. She's very strong and I admire her for never playing victim
Yeah.
because she could have. And she pushed us because she knew what we were capable of. We came from her. Most importantly, we came from God, right? So what
Yeah.
does that look like now that I'm separating my identity from my mother's expectations to now like asking myself, what does God expect of me? What is the difference?
That spirit of poverty, it is a hard one. And a lot of people, unfortunately, never break it. But when you break it and there's the thought of ever going back, there's a trauma in that too. And so I think a lot of mothers, especially that have been through trauma, they may not even mean it. It's almost survival mode still that they instill in their kids, like, we will never do this again, because they're still kind of going through that trauma.
Yes.
Because the thought of ever going back is so traumatic.
Yes.
As moms, we can sometimes, with the best intentions actually, but unintentionally put these pressures on our children.
Right.
We may not even realize it. That is a trauma response.
Yeah. What I didn't get to appreciate was that my mom was teaching me something.
Yeah.
She was trying to keep my roots. And I have prayed for a platform to be able to share my testimony. A huge piece of that is truly sharing like what it was like to be raised as a young Filipino American and how I can use that to inspire and just to kind of unlock certain mindsets. I wasn't married. I wasn't striving for marriage. I was never one of those girls that like had a dream wedding, dream husband, and dream all of this. I was just never one of those girls
Yeah.
because I was so focused on making it. I decided to just change my walk. I was just in relationships that were not as fulfilling. I remember hitting a point where I was like, I surrender.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
And I have to give it all to God. It was to a point where I just really committed to what God had for me and putting full trust in His plan was when things just started changing.
You no longer have to strive.
I no longer have to strive. I prayed not for the husband, but to become the wife that would attract the husband that God had for me.
Something you said that's key is you have to surrender to stop the strife.
Yeah,
And so I believe the opposite of striving would be surrender.
yeah,
And once you surrender in the weirdest way, that's only God,
yeah.
then you actually get what you're looking for.
It is so freeing,
Yeah.
Dana. Life is so different. My version of winning today looks so different than my version of winning when I was 21. Showing, others, all the youth that we mentor and the young Filipino girls that I mentor for the pageant, just giving them hope.
Speaking of cultural striving and the mentoring, I
Mhm.
want you to tell everybody what you do now
Okay.
because it's so beautiful how God takes these moments and then we don't realize what's to come.
I've been leading the Miss Fil-Am Florida Beauty Pageant for almost 10 years now, on and off. Our family runs the Filipino American Social Club nonprofit organization. It's a 501(c)(4), and it's created to kind of just raise funds for
Yeah.
any chosen foundation that we feel in our heart may need, the help and the care. In 2015, we founded the pageant as a way to create like a larger fundraiser, but to also just reach out to younger Filipino American girls that weren't really in tune with their culture,
Yeah.
didn't really understand what it meant to be like Filipino American because once you're in it, like you lose. It's so easy to lose a sense of your culture and a
Yeah.
sense of where you came from. So, like, for me, the pageant means so much to me because I just remember what it was like. Our culture truly is how beautiful God created every single one of us to a point like where I really embraced what I was. I just embraced my little round nose and I embraced,
Yeah.
my cheekbones and I just embraced everything that I was and I just allowed God to use that.
And you're also embracing that culture that you didn't understand in the
Right.
beginning. And
Yeah.
you're equipping other girls to not have to walk through some of the identity issues that you had. And
Yeah.
that's how God works. He takes the thing sometimes that we thought was a negative thing or the thing that we're insecure about,
Yeah.
and then He brings beauty to it. And so, what else are you doing? I want to hear more about
Yeah.
your other businesses because she has a
Oh
really
my
cool
God.
one that has to do with her husband. I
Oh,
want you to
yes.
explain it.
Yes. My husband and I own a company called WooMeNow, which specifies on just curating really, really fun date night ideas. The whole essence of it is just to continue dating your spouse. Like once you win your spouse and once you, get married and have kids, sometimes it's easy to get lost in life
Yeah.
and you forget to woo your spouse. So the company is amazing. It's the core and heartbeat of our marriage, alongside the marriage ministry that we are involved with Grace Family Church. It's literally just a part of our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Um, Healthy marriage is absolutely possible if you just continue to date and fall in love with your spouse every single day and just remember like why we are here. Like it just makes life so much easier, especially amidst having kids and
Yeah.
businesses and all the things. I think that is just,
And if
you
you would
know,
have continued to strive for the worldly things,
oh my
you
gosh.
mentioned how you didn't want a husband and see how God, the
Yeah,
second you surrendered, now you have a ministry in it. It's
right.
just the irony in that because
Yeah,
we tend to like strive for things and it's not even our calling.
yeah.
And had
Yeah.
you gone that way, look what you would have missed out on.
When you find fulfillment in purpose, it gives your life a different meaning. The fruit of the Holy Spirit will never tell you that you have to be anything other than who you are. The world is a very noisy place, and it's very easy to hear everybody else's definition of you.
I just love you, Erica. I literally could sit
Oh,
and talk to you for hours about
yes,
this.
yes.
And I just want to thank you so much for sharing what you've been through, to
Yeah.
educate, to give somebody that hope, that sense of who they are, their identity, and to know that they're loved no matter what. They can come as they
Mhm.
are. I thank you so much. And you can surrender like Erica did, and you can have true peace and true rest and know that you are loved.